Today I will show you how we can use a voice network as well as data network using a Cisco router and switch IP phones and end devices PCs. Okay, let's get started. It's a simple voice network. Okay, so you can use the router for us call manager express and your data voice gateway. This 2811 router, and we need switch for a switch 2960 switch I am using, and of course we need end devices for voice IP phones and data PCs. Okay, let's connect each other. From the router I'm using the first port, faster than a 0 by 0 to first port of the switch, faster than a 0 by 1. Okay, then the from 2 to switch from IP phone to PC. Okay, 0 by 3 switch from PC. This is how you can use the data network, or you can create a separate, connect the PC to separate, up to you. You can use this way also. So let's power on the IP phone because it's not PoE, so you need to power on manually. Drag and drop the power adapter here. Now the device is booting up. Now I'll tell you the data network, which range we need. The data network, I'll give the IP range to 2.0/24. Data network means phones, and the voice network I'll give 192.168.205.0/24. Okay, for this both network data and voice, DHCP server will be our router, and I need the extension. I need to give the extension for the IP phone. For the first phone I need 410 extension, second phone 411 extension. Okay, extension or directory number, you can put anything. Okay, now let's get start the configuration. First of all, as you know, there is two different network we are using, one for voice 192.168.205.0 and for the data 192.168.2.0. then there should be separate gateway for each network. Okay, so we have only one gateway here, the router. Either you can buy new router and configure one for data network gateway, one for voice gateway. If you have only one router, I'll show you how we can do this. Suppose we have only one router, let's create a sub interface for each network. Okay, so we connected, we connected the cable from the switch to router is faster than 0 by 0. Let's access the CLI of the router. Okay, to CLI, type now, enable config interface FA 0 by 0. Normally what we are doing, we are assigning IP address here. This time we are not assigning IP address here, we are just giving the command now shut to enable the port. Port is enabled with no IP address. Now let's exit from the port and again interface FA 0 by 0 with sub interface. We are creating sub interface. First of all, we are creating sub interface for data network, that is I am giving 1. Okay, that sub interface is created. A links to change it to app. Here you can assign the IP address. For the data network gateway will be 2.1 as we planned before. The subnet mask 255.255.0. I think we need to configure this encapsulation .1 queue. Before we assign the IP, use the command encapsulation .1 queue with VLAN ID. In this case is 1, and now you can assign the IP address 192.168.2.1.255.255.255.0. No shut, not required here, but already enabled. Again exit. Now for the voice network we need a voice gateway. So again interface, same interface but different sub interface. This time I'll give 2. This is created. Same step, encapsulation .1 queue, VLAN ID. This VLAN ID is 2. Exit, non exit. We need IP address. IP address 192.168.205.255.255.255.0. This IP address will be the voice gateway. Okay. Exit. Now you can see how we assign. So IP interface brief. For the main interface, we didn't assign any IP address. We created one fast Ethernet sub interface. For data network is 201, and for the another sub interface with VLAN ID 2, and give the IP for 205.1. Okay. Now let's come to our switch. As you know, we have 2 separate VLAN, so we have to configure VLAN here. Let's access the switch CLI, enable. As you know, the first port is connected to the router, so let's enter that port. Should be trunk port, so let's configure that port. Interface faster than 0/1. This port we connected to the router. Then we have to configure switch port mode trunk. This port should be trunk port, so that port will restart. You can see now on the restarting the port. Now the remaining port, interface range, we are using 2 ports only, so faster than 0/1. We already connected to the router. Now from the 2 to 3, only 2 port we use. Up to your use, you can assign here. This port should be switch port mode access, and switch port access VLAN 1. By default it will be in VLAN 1. Before we have to do one more step, create one VLAN 2. We already assigned the VLAN ID in the router VLAN 2. We created sub interface faster than 0/0.2, right? So we have to use the same ID here for the voice. And you can use then command name voice network. Exit. Again come back to our interface range faster than 0/2 to 3. Switch port and continue the command. Switch port access voice, switch port voice VLAN 2. Okay, so our voice VLAN will be 2 and data VLAN will be 1. Now let's show the VLAN database. So VLAN, now you can see here we have default VLAN. These all ports are in the VLAN 1, data VLAN, and there is 0/2 and 3 port is there, and we created one VLAN 2 for the voice and only 2 ports as we configured there, faster than 0/2 and 0/3, which we connected to the IP phone. Okay. Now the third step is for the separate data network and voice network. We required IP address for the end devices, so we have to create DHCP server here. So config IP DHCP. I'm creating first for data network, and then we'll create for voice network. IP DHCP excluded address because 192.168.2.1 we already assigned for gateway, so I'm excluding from 192.168.2.1 to 2.10. So data VLAN will get the IP from 2.11. Now you can create the pool, IP DHCP pool. Give a name, I give data network 192.168.2.0, mask 255.255.255.0. Default router will be default gateway, will be 2. Exit. That's it we record as of now. And for that voice network, IP DHCP excluded address 192.168.2.0.5.1 we already assigned for the voice gateway. Now Underscore define 205.2.20.10. Okay. Now let's create DHCP for voice. IP DHCP for, I'm giving name voice network. Sorry, network. Okay. Network ID 192.168.205.0, mask 255.255.255.0. Default router will be 192.168.205.1 is the gateway for the voice device. And for the voice, we need one more parameter here, option 150, IP address 192.168.205.1. Okay, exit out. Now let's check the devices got the IP from the appropriate range. For the data network should get IP from data, we configure 2.range, and for the IP phone should get the range of IP from 205. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the PC first, desktop configuration. It is in static mode, put it on DHCP, requesting IPC. This is got 2011. See, this is correct. This one also should get to range IP. Okay, this is also correct. Now let's go to the IP phones. See, this got the IP. You can see now 192.168.205.11. This is 192.168. Not good. That's it. Now got 205.12. Okay. Now the second step. Now all devices got the IP. Now the second step is we need to create telephony network here. This is 410. This is what 411. So we need a MAC address. I'm not using auto registration here. I will register the IP phone with MAC address. So we need the MAC address. We can see VLan 200E0 F9 D4 4042. These are the MAC address. (00E0 F9 D4 4042). If you make a mistake in the MAC address, it won't work. 0060 5C9 1D17. Okay. And access the CLI. Enable config T. Telephony service. Here you can assign max DN. I give 5 max ePhones. I give 5. There are some more parameters to be configured here. If I configure here now, the router will show some alarms or notification here that will be disturbed for the further configuration. So I will come back and proceed complete the remaining configuration here. As of now, I'm exiting configure and configuring the directory number. ePhone DN1. Our first directory number, can assign the number here. Number first one 410. Here MAC. Sorry. No number. Yes, here only the extension. Again ePhone DN2 number 411. Okay. Now we created 2 extension numbers. Sorry, that's it. Now come to ePhone. First ePhone. Now we can create. So I think on MAC. Here we can define the MAC address for the 410 address. We are using this MAC address. Okay, copy this one. Come back for CLI. Can paste it here and button. First option will be the first directory number. Okay. Exit. Again, come back to ePhone. Phone 2, second phone, and MAC address This is the MAC address. Come back here and a button. Just a button to second directory number. Yes, that's it. Now we can complete the remaining step in the telephony service. Access again, and we already assigned here max DN and max ephone. Now what the remaining will be, we can say no auto registration. Okay, auto registration phone, because we already registered manually using MAC address, and IP source address will be 192.168.205.1 with port 2000. Okay, anything else we configured here? Now see, now you get the message 20512 is registered, phone as registered. Okay, phone 1 as we, and phone 2 also registered 205.11. okay, now we are done. Now let's come to our phone graphic user interface. See, this is 411. As we planned here, we registered using MAC address. This is should be 410. Okay, now we can call, take the receiver, dial the number, phone 11. Okay, see, you can see the status ringing out. Minimize this one, come back to your phone 2. See, this is ringing. You can see we have got call from 410. Okay, if you take the receiver, you can see the status, phones are connected. So it is working now. Okay, disconnected the phone, and from the PC you got the IP in the data network. So this is 2.12 and this is 2.11. So we created with separate network. You can ping from 192.168.2.12. Pinging 192.168.2.13. Sorry, ping 192.168.2.13. 2.13 or 11? What was the IP? This device IP? 2.11. Sorry, 2.11. There's no 2.13 in this network. Okay. Okay. So both data and VLan are voice VLan are working fine. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you and bye. See you in the next video.